In this video clip, we will talk about formulas. We will see how do we actually get those formulas. Recall how was sine alpha defined? Sine alpha was defined as a y-coordinate of point P1. So sine alpha is y. How was cosine alpha defined? Cosine alpha is defined as x-coordinate of point P1. Tangent alpha is the ratio of sine alpha over cosine alpha. Because y is sine alpha, x is cosine alpha. If we add pi to the alpha, then this point P will be in the third quadrant, right here in the third quadrant. So then correspondingly, the x-coordinate will be negative x, y-coordinate will be negative y for point P3. Then sine pi plus alpha will be y-coordinate, which will be negative y. And that's what it says here. Cosine pi plus alpha will be x-coordinate of point P3, which is negative x. So you have a negative x. Then tangent pi plus alpha will be y-coordinate over x-coordinate, which is negative y over x equals y over x. Because negative is going to be positive. Then first we get is tangent alpha is y over x. Tangent pi plus alpha is y over x. So we actually get those two are equal. Okay. So that means tangent alpha equals tangent pi plus alpha, which will be the third one here. Then, if you look at the first one, first group, if you put negative on both sides, then you will see negative y equals negative y. Then we have a sine pi plus alpha, which is the one right here, should be equal to negative sine alpha. That's the one here. Similarly, if you put negative in front of x, negative in front of cosine alpha, so you have a negative x equals negative x. Then you have a cosine pi plus alpha equals negative cosine alpha, which will be the second identity here. Cosine pi plus alpha is negative cosine alpha. So it will be very helpful if you remember the graph, then everything comes out easily. Now, let's look at this one. This one is consider two different angles. One is alpha. One is alpha. Another is negative alpha. So the angle One is in the fourth quadrant, another is in the first quadrant. In the first quadrant, x coordinate will be the same. Y coordinate is opposite. Okay? This then tells us what? Sine alpha, which is y, So sine alpha, which is y. Then if you put negative in front of it, you should have a negative y here. But here, you know, negative y is defined as sine negative alpha equals y. Negative. So then you have a negative y equals negative y. So you then have a sine negative alpha is negative sine alpha. Sine negative alpha is negative sine alpha. But x coordinates are the same. So this tells us cosine negative alpha is still x, which equals cosine alpha, which is x. That's how we got that. Now we know is sine negative alpha is negative sine alpha. Negative cosine negative alpha is cosine alpha. So, by the definition for tangent, you have a tangent alpha is y over x. You have a tangent negative alpha, which is this angle. That's negative y over positive x. You see, y coordinate is negative. X coordinate is still positive. So what you get will be negative y over positive x. If you add negative in front of both, then you have a here equals this one. So then you will have a tangent negative alpha is negative tangent alpha. That's what it says here. Okay. Now, this was the angle in the fourth quadrant. Previously, this was the angle P3 in the third quadrant. Then we want to consider the relationship between the first quadrant and the second quadrant. So then you probably can predict the third group of the formula. How does it look like? It will be look like this. It will be look like this. Right here. We know negative alpha is in the fourth quadrant, this point. Okay. Then if you add pi on negative alpha, it goes to the second quadrant. So P4 comes to P2. Basically, P2 is in the second quadrant. P4 is in the fourth quadrant. Okay. Now, the x coordinate will be negative now. and the y coordinate will be 8. Okay. Now, then here the angle in the second quadrant will be sine pi minus alpha. So sine pi minus alpha will be the value y. Will be the value y. And the we previously remember is sine alpha is y. So then you have a sine this angle pi minus alpha is y. You have a sine alpha is also y, so they're equal. Okay. Then you have this, the first one. Now, again, you're going to recall this point, the coordinate right here, P was xy. Okay. Now, then consider cosine pi minus alpha. Cosine is x coordinate. X. Okay. Then you have a cosine pi minus alpha is negative x. But we know cosine alpha is x, is this coordinate. So then you will have a is put negative in front of it again, so they are equal. Okay, and then you have a cosine pi minus alpha equals negative cosine alpha. So that's this one, negative cosine alpha. Okay. So the last one is tangent. Tangent pi minus alpha is y over negative x. That's the value for tangent pi minus alpha. What we know is that tangent alpha is y over x. Put negative in front of it, and then you have those two are equal. So then you will have a tangent pi minus alpha is negative tangent alpha. Okay? All right. Next time, we will talk about how to apply those formulas. Remember here is that we need to remember both graph and formulas. If you remember the graph, you may remember the formula. I will never remember the formula without remembering the graph. Okay? So, I'll do some examples next time. So, see you next time.